بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون أياما معدودات فمن كان منكم مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر وعلى الذين يطيقونه فدية طعام مسكين. And the English translation is as follows: I seek refuge with Allah from Satan the accursed, in the name of Allah, the gracious, the merciful. The prescribed fasting is for a fixed number of days, but whoso among you is sick or is on a journey shall fast the same number of other days.
This is Simple Islam, taking Islamic concepts and explaining them before your coffee gets cold. Wait, never mind, you might be fasting. For this episode, we're going to be talking about the holy month of Ramadan and why Muslims fast. Ramadan is the 9th month of the Islamic lunar calendar. Every day during this month, Muslims around the world spend the daylight hours in a complete fast, as is commanded in the Holy Quran in chapter 2, verse 184. Fasting, or Sawm in Arabic, literally means to refrain, and not only is it abstaining from food and drink, but also actions such as smoking cigarettes, talking about others behind their backs, or using foul language. Fast until the setting of the sun and the call of the evening Maghrib prayer. Muslims don't eat or drink during this time. It was the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, himself that said, during the month of Ramadan, the gates of heaven are opened. In fact, this is where the challenge of patience and endurance comes in. Muslims believe fasting is not merely a physical ritual, but is primarily a time for reflection and spiritual recharging. It's also a time of community. It is a custom for Muslims to invite their neighbors and friends to share their evening meal.
Ramadhan Mubarak, Ramadan Kareem, Ramadan Mubarak.
Fasting is prescribed for you, as it was prescribed for those before you, so that you may become righteous.
So as you saw, the video actually briefly covers most aspects of what fasting is and what Ramadan means. There's just a couple of things that I would like to add to that. And first of all is that the word Ramadan, or the name Ramadan that is given to this month, comes once a year. So throughout the year, in those 12 months, there is 1 month in which the Muslims fast for a whole month. And the fasting, obviously, when we speak to a lot of people, they think that the Muslims fast actually for the whole month, some of them believe. Christianity, for example, you have that form of fasting, some sort of fasting, even today in the form of Lent as well. And similarly, in other religions, you have some sort of signs that fasting is still prevalent and practiced in some way or the other. But in Islam, you find that it is very much a very strict observance, a fasting that includes to stay away from food and drink from sunrise till sunset very strictly. So this is slightly different from other people who fast. Some people stay away from certain things such as chocolate, certain things such as eggs, or any other type of specific things. But the purpose of fasting is so that we may become righteous. And how do we become righteous? I mean, some may have the question that, if you don't eat or drink for 30 days, from sunrise to sunset, how does that make you righteous? Right? It's a logical question. The answer to that simply is that one thing that makes you righteous is obeying God and His commandments, and the second thing is to instill that discipline in yourself. So we know that we can eat and drink every day normally. We don't have any restriction there, but just during this month there is a restriction that we will observe fast, and that means that God Almighty just want to see that whether we're able to make that sacrifice for Him to stay away from food and drink. Habits If somebody has the habits of lying to other people, somebody has the bad habits to be disrespectful to their parents or to their children. He was the king of Arabia, but he had all the wealth coming to him, but he would never keep the wealth himself. He actually distributed that to the poor people. And he said that if I had a mountain of gold, there will not be one night that passes by and that wealth I will not distribute it to poor people. So that, when the fast is, when we're supposed to keep the fast, we wake up normally a little bit earlier, maybe 2:30, 2:45, and before sunrise we have to eat. So as you know, normally we normally don't have breakfast that early, but during the month of Ramadan, all that changes, and you have to adjust. So we have around, we have something to eat in the morning, just before 3:10 or 3:15, and then we go to the mosque for prayers. We have congregational prayers in the morning around 3:45, 4 o'clock, and then people go home, sleep. Some people go straight to work, some people might go sleep and then go to work later on. So it is a very difficult routine, but people adjust, and it's amazing how if you are disciplined, how you can adjust to different challenges. I will come back to that later on, so the fast goes on from about 3 o'clock in the morning till about 9 o'clock in the evening. Today the fast is opening at 9:15, is it? So just around that time. During that time, obviously, you have no lunch, you have no dinner. You wait all the time till 9:15 when you can open the fast. But during that time, you have the times of prayers, so you do your prayers as it is a routine. And when the time of fasting opens after sunset, with sunset, there is a joy. Everybody gathers in houses. The whole families come together. They open with date and water. And date is a tradition that from Arabia, Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, used to open and keep his fast with date and water. And it's a very nice thing. It's a very sweet, thing to eat and quickly open the fast and have a glass of water or whatever you're drinking with this, juice or whatever. And then you come to the mosque and we do the prayers in the evening, and we go back and then we have a little bit more food. We obviously encourage everyone to eat healthy, because the whole purpose of Ramadan also is to look after yourself, not spiritually but also physically. And then people come again to the mosque for prayers as well. So this continues for 30 days. At the end of 30 days, we celebrate by enjoying the festival of Eid, which is a very important festival, very important main holiday for Muslims, where they come to the mosque with a sermon and celebrate the achievement of Ramadan. Fasting can really help you lose weight, but it doesn't really help if you eat unhealthy, as I mentioned. If you have a burger afterwards or something like that, it's not going to help. So you have to obviously eat healthy. But fasting can really help you control your weight. Doctors also say that it's really good for your blood pressure, to stabilize your blood pressure. For many heart diseases, fasting actually is really good. And we know as well, when you fast, your body detox itself. So a lot of toxins that are in our body, they during fasting, they will, they'll be cleaned. Your body will be cleaned. Your immune system improves as well. A lot of these things, such as things that are related to digestive systems, are improved rapidly through fasting. At the end of the day, there was some of the things have already been mentioned in the videos, that if somebody is sick or somebody is traveling, or elderly people who have different illnesses such as diabetes, or people who cannot fast, basically, even pregnant women as well, obviously they are also exempt from fasting. Also breastfeeding women are exempt from fasting. If somebody is ill, they are actually told very strictly not to fast. So there are very much relaxation in terms of the health and travel of people. Only fit people, only those people who can fast physically, they are told to fast. And yes, so fasting is prescribed for those people who can. Also, very young children. In Islam also says that very young children, who are obviously developing and are not able to fast for that long, they need to eat and drink in order to develop themselves physically and mentally, they also are not allowed to fast. But obviously they can try, to fast for a few hours just to get a taste of how it is. And in our community as well, there are many kids and children who are really keen to fast. And obviously we encourage them that, you can try to fast for a couple of hours or do half a fast and see how it is. But yeah, so there are exemptions there. Yes.
Why don't you do it in January?
Sometimes we do in January. That's a very good question, actually. Ramadan follows the lunar calendar, so that changes every year. So it goes 10 days back every year. So in January, the days of fasting are shorter. So it's much easier. In summer, it's much harder.
I think the round circle comes in about 35 years.
Yeah. 30 years. They wait a long time.
People who have illness and who aren't able to fast, you say that there is an alternative in terms of they go towards a charity or they look after. What was that again? Sorry.
Yes, that's quite right, as you mentioned. Those people who are sick or ill, obviously if there are temporary people who are temporary ill, so say if I've got a fever, I can't fast for a week, then the commandment or the instruction is that whenever I'm then recovered, I can fast even after Ramadan, whenever I can make up those days. And for those days that I missed, the people also are encouraged to pay a certain amount towards feeding the poor, and it's called fidya in Arabic. It means basically feeding the poor, feeding the needy, and that could be, that calculates to about £2 or £3 a day.
Who are the Muslim faith, and they do very strenuous hard work during the day, and those who are in sport, footballers, would they actually fast and actually take part in the games and do their work just as well?
The thing is that Islam gives a very clear, guidelines in terms of what it means to fast. Fasting is only for those who can do it mentally and physically, So if somebody becomes very weak, somebody becomes almost comes to a point where that person has no energy and feels that he's going to faint, then that comes under the category of being sick. So that person has to then not do fast on that day and make up later on in some other days. But for those of us who are not professional, when we play football, sometimes it's amazing. Sometimes you can play without eating or drinking. But there are individual choices. Some people fast, some people don't fast, and there is no such thing as if that person is not fasting because of that person's personal circumstance. If he's feeling sick, then nobody can judge that, because God has given a clear guidance that whoever falls sick or whoever feels sick should not fast.
As to what you do in Eid, what do you eat? What's the format? Do you exchange presents? Do you have a special meal?
Yeah, we do all of that. We eat a lot of good food that is cooked. Sweet also is a tradition. That there's always 1 or 2 sweet dishes with it. Presents are given to each other on this particular Eid. Very much like a very fun day, especially for kids, to make sure that they are enjoying it as well, to make certain programs as well. In the mosque we have a sermon on that day in the morning, and that sermon talks about what we have achieved during Ramadan and fasting, and how we have tried to discipline ourselves, and how we should try to carry that on in our everyday life.
The month of Ramadan, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the Quran was revealed to him during that month only. Was it only that month that it was revealed?
No. So the Holy Quran was revealed on Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, during a long period of time, right? About 20 years or so. And the month of Ramadan was the month where the whole Holy Quran was revised. The whole part of the Holy Quran was revised to the Prophet, and especially the year that he passed away, it was revised twice. Iftar.
Yeah.
Iftar means basically opening fast. Yeah.
And Eid?
Eid means something that this is a real test, isn't it? Yeah. Eid means in Arabic something that returns again and again. And there are two Eids in a year for Muslims. One is now, that's coming this Saturday, and then the other one is going to come later on, which is the bigger Eid, we call it. So Eid literally it means something that returns, but also something that brings happiness.